Well, hello there. This is Chris and Cindy again, the silver, what was it, Cindy? Boomers. The blooming boomers coming to you again. And we're talking about aging. Now, maybe we don't even like that word, but the process of whatever it is.
Getting on.
The process on getting into those later years, those autumn years, and how you deal with that.
As long as we're not going to winter yet.
No. Winter's still down the track. We'll get to winter when we get there. We'll get out all the coats and jackets and scarves when we get there to protect ourselves. So the question I want to ask Cindy this morning is, I was with someone and he was talking about activism in relation to the work he does. And I was very caught up with this word activist, which of course is a popular word at the moment. We hear it all over the place. A lot of people are talking about activism. But what does it actually mean if we ask the question? Because I like the idea of aging activists or activism in aging. So if I say activism to you, what do you come up with?
Well, I kind of think that it's somebody that's doing something about a topic or subject that they know about.
Okay.
But I also get that feeling because of all the years, it was always perceived as angry people.
Yes, kind of an aggression or someone with a chip on their shoulder. But now you see yourself as an activist.
I do.
Tell me a bit about that.
I kind of, I didn't label myself with that. And somebody else kept saying to me, oh, your activism, how's your activism going? And I'm like, okay, apparently I am. So I've hooked onto that. And I kind of feel that it is relevant in my topic because as an HIV activist, I go out there and I share awareness, I go into the media and I share stuff with them, I share with people around me because there's such a huge perception of, or should I say there's a misunderstanding of so much where my topic is concerned, that I feel the need to go out there and explain and educate as far as I possibly can.
So a large part of this is misunderstanding. So a large part of activism is to try to open up the conversation.
For sure.
Is to try to say, well, look, here's this situation that none of us are happy with. If we think of civil disobedience, a lot of people who are protesting these days, way more than ever before. What is that about? And that's activism in that it's saying, hello, can we open this discussion?
Yes.
Of course, sometimes it's a smash in your face, can we open this discussion? But be that as it may, the thinking behind activism is to say, what do we need to do? What is this about?
How can we rectify the situation?
And also, how can we live most creatively or positively within the situation? So for very many people, HIV status was a kind of a...
Don't say the S word.
Yeah.
Discrimination. We were discriminated against.
Yeah.
And people were totally... They feared.
Yes, well, it was seen as like a death sentence.
Absolutely.
And now suddenly there are a whole lot of people living with HIV, including yourself.
One of the big things currently that is in the HIV situation is U equals U, where people don't realize that if my virus is undetectable in my system, I cannot actually pass the virus on. Undetectable equals untransmittable.
Okay. All right. So that's a lot of what you do, Cindy. I mean, in terms of your real life, as it were, where you aren't just speaking about bloomers and so on. You are an HIV activist, speaker, writer, trainer, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay. And my field, of course, is in the area of communications. And these things really link insofar as that we take communication so much for granted. We think because we're opening and shutting our mouths that we are communicating. And very often we are not. So communication itself is like an art and a science.
For sure.
How do you get to grips with it? How do you understand it? And how do you do it better? Okay. So the question today, if I may say, is what is activism in regard to aging? The aging process. Anyone from, 50s upwards, 60, 70, you name it, we're all going through the same situation
In a different age group.
in different age groups, and we're going through processes where we need to say, how do we make the best out of
The
this?
situation that we're currently in.
So
Absolutely.
that's an activism in
Yeah.
a way. You know, how do we make, what action do we take to make the best out of the situation we're in? Am I right with that one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure, because I know each sort of every 10 years, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, something different has happened in each and every one of those years, and not all of them have been good. I'm not complaining. I trust me. Don't complain. But the way I've dealt with each and every one of those situations has got me to where I am now, and most of them have been health situations.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 16 years back. It was the HIV, cancer, TB, meningitis, and all the other stuff, strokes and what have you. This 2018, I had a massive heart attack. So it's how I've dealt with it, and I've gone out and I've actually spoken about each and every incident.
Yeah. So the point here, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the point here is, how do you deal with it? The point is that you've been through all those health challenges, physical challenges, and the activism is, what action do you take to ensure that you come through out the other side and you're still living?
Yeah, I've definitely, in my situation, I've had support, extremely good support from family and friends. So it's something that you need to nurture before you even get into that situation, is that community of friendship and family.
So let's talk about activism from very practical points of view. If you want to be an aging activist, if you want to be an activist in your aging, which means taking action to ensure yourself the best life you can get, the most meaningful, productive, positive, enjoyable life, there are various things you need to be doing. One of them you've mentioned right there is to have a circle of support, if we can call it that. Your friends, your family, people who, when you're feeling just down, you phone someone and say, hello, how are you going? What's happening? I'm feeling like whatever you're feeling like, and I would like to just chat about it. So it's about connecting and engaging and ensuring that you do have that sort of circle, a support circle. This is a critical aspect.
Very critical.
What else might we say are ways that we can take action to be a positive aging activist?
You need to be very mindful of your situation and how your mental state basically needs to be on a level that you can cope with the situation you're in.
So when you're talking about mindful, let's just look at that word very quickly, because it's also quite a trendy, popular word. You're talking about mindful of yourself. You're talking about self-awareness, because there's also a mindful of others.
Others, yes.
In other words, what's going on with this person, that person.
But also, you have to, if you are in a health situation, you need to be mindful of the other person's feelings towards that, because I've often found that people outside of my situation, it's not them, it's me, they have difficulty,
of course,
in dealing with my situation, more than what I am having trouble with it. It's quite scary, actually.
So the important thing that we are saying, you're saying what is required in this kind of taking action is opening your mind to yourself and to other people.
For sure.
Trying to understand how they might be perceiving your situation, so that you understand them, and then understanding how you perceive it yourself. So I think the mindful thing or mindset is critically important. I've got a 97-year-old mother. She turns 97 at the end of this month, actually. And she's a remarkable human being. I often use her as a kind of a role model for myself, because here she is at 97, and she has still got such an alert mind, and a mind that is so open to understanding what is going on. She's aged, of course, she's very slow, her sight is going dramatically, her hearing is going, but she asks questions, she kind of remembers things, she keeps conversations in her own mind as to the people around her. So that's a pretty remarkable thing.
It definitely is. I mean, I'll make an error, same with my mother. I mean, she's turning 87 this year, and I'll say something that happened in my youth, and she'll say, no, well, actually it was this, and I'm like, So this is important, is you've got to make your own mind
open and aware of what's going on round about.
And keep it active with various tasks and situations. I mean,
well, just talk about some of those. If you say, like what?
You
like
don't,
what?
For instance, I'll use my mother again. I mean, my mother is out and about, I think, more than what I am. She goes and visits her friends, she goes for coffee, a little less during COVID, but generally. She has her craft group. I'm not sure if she's still doing the coffee thing at the churches for depressing funerals. But she gets out and about and she does stuff. And the other day, she decided that she's coming to visit me. So we were on it, booking the plane. She's coming. She just does stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So she's out and about and doing things. And of course, even funerals don't have to be depressing.
No, they're not.
They're not. In our society, we don't talk about death.
No,
in some
it's
great
a celebration of
societies
somebody's life.
in the world, they talk about death. They prepare themselves for it. You talk about what you might want for your funeral or your going away party or whatever it might be. You talk about those things. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
We want to brush it under the carpet.
Again, the other day, my mother phoned me to say, okay, can I download her and send her, because she was sickling to find it, a living will. She wanted to update her living will. I mean, she talks about it, and we chatted about all sorts of things. So it's really important to speak about these things.
Yeah. So you were talking about being physically getting out there, going and having the teas and the whatever, talking to people. So of course, some people are not physically able to do that. However, this extraordinary thing has got the amazing capacity. I read somewhere, it was a quote, and I can't remember it exactly, but it was something like, when I read, I take my mind on vacation.
I
love that.
I do.
Reading,
so much.
You enter into another world.
So
you are part of that world. So mental travel.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself open on a phone, talking to other people. This sort of contact is so important. Okay.
Without a doubt.
All right. So what have we talked about? Have we talked about anything sensible at all?
Probably not.
Probably you not, but in my case it might be different. So what we were saying is, all right, activism. The importance to be an activist when you're aging, to know what's going on around you, to take action to keep yourself younger. We talked about mindset. What did you talk about just before mindset? We were, it doesn't really matter.
No, it's got nothing to do with my age that I've forgotten. But something that just crossed my mind as well, we tend to forget that we've got, as you age, you have built up so many years of experience that I find that if you're not using that experience you have either is being selfish. I mean, that is one way as well to keep your mind open and active, is to share your information with other people, the experiences you have.
Very important, and I think as you get older, to acknowledge the value of that experience, because it's such a young world. I mean, I spent a lot of my life in advertising, the advertising and marketing field, and that's a very young field. You get to sort of your early 30s and they're thinking of retiring you because they want fresh ideas. That whole industry has changed a lot since the years that I was involved. But I remember what a young industry it was, and I was part of it in my 30s and going into my 40s a long time ago. But there's a real danger to not realizing the value of a mind that's had a lot of experience and has been able to temper that knowledge and that experience with new ideas that have come up and different perspectives on things. Yeah. This is really important.
With the experience you've got, you need to make sure as well, be open enough to make yourself relevant in the current climate.
Yeah.
You've got to.
Exactly.
Otherwise you're going to be left behind.
Yeah. So staying relevant, looking at how you can be relevant, trying to understand what's going around about you as opposed to just complaining about it or trying to cut it off. I mean, they talk about grumpy old men. I'm definitely in the grumpy old men category, and in fact, very occasionally, I'm a very grumpy old man. They even made a movie about that, with Jack Lemmon and that other fellow. Walter Matthau.
Matthau, that's it.
A whole movie made about grumpy old men. But it is a reality. We get older and we start complaining and moaning, and we get less tolerant. And of course, sometimes you do need to complain if something needs to be complained about. But the reality is that we should not settle into these predestined sort of habits, you know. We can break out of those and be more of an aging activist.
For sure.
Okay, so we've been talking about becoming an aging activist, enjoying your aging process, making sure that you enjoy it, and giving yourself an openness to a whole new bunch of experiences as the autumn years come along. And one of the most important things there is keeping the mind open, being alert to what's going on.
Absolutely.
Are we in this together?
We are.
Okay, guys, well, that's it for today. That's the blooming boomers or the silver bloomers, whatever we're called. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
We'll see you again for the next one. Are you going to say something?
No, you're going to tell them to subscribe.
Well, you can tell them.
Okay, please don't forget to subscribe. We're trying
Subscribe
to
to what?
our YouTube channel.
Ah, the YouTube channel. Okay.
Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build our followers so we can eventually, hopefully, get some potential collaborators. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Ciao.